Hello and welcome to Courageous Conversations.
We're here to talk honestly about race, faith, and what it really means to love our neighbor at all costs.
Each and every episode, we are going to sit down with friends and leaders from across Kansas City to share stories. We're going to ask hard questions and we'll laugh a little bit along the way.
To unite people, unite neighborhoods, and eventually unite KC. Let's jump into today's conversation.
Well, hello. Good morning. Good afternoon and good evening, no matter where you are. And I say that because there's people in multiple time zones. If we just talk about my kids, they're all over the world. So I just want to welcome you to another conversation with us, Courageous Conversations podcast, with my co-host, Gary. Gary, say hello.
Welcome. It's good to have you joining us today, and thank you for coming in. And as you do, I just want to encourage you right at the beginning, if you would be willing to subscribe and then like and share. That would help us. You can find these podcasts on Spotify. You can find them on Apple Play, on Google Play. You can find them on the unitekc.org website, YouTube. And when you find them, share them. If you're listening and you think, oh, I really wish that so-and-so had this content, you can it's really easy on YouTube just to push the little button that looks like a swoosh and share. So we would love if you do that.
Yes. And so Gary and I decided that we were going to do one together, and that today we're going to talk about repairing relationships and that you might have to do when you're having courageous conversations. Right. And, you know, at some point with this content, with this subject, somebody's going to say the wrong thing, aren't they, right, Gary?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so we definitely want to be kind of like guides to help you with some of those things. And, you know, I'm going to start out, and Gary's got some stories too,
yes,
but I'll start out with something that's happening currently in my own family.
Okay.
So we have our family is just as varied as you could be. It's like a United Nations family. So one of the things that we didn't know was ever going to be an issue in our family is the one of politics.
Okay.
And so, you know, I've got family members where we have prized the relationship that we have above everything. So when I see those family members, we love each other, we hug, we can talk about anything until we start talking about current situations with politics. And then I'm telling you, I'm willing to talk about it, but it is such a sore subject that there's usually yelling that goes on. And so, you know, if it weren't for the relationship piece, we probably wouldn't talk.
Yeah. And
so, you know, maybe you can give me some advice, Gary, how I could get past that situation.
Well, I feel like that could be any family
in
the U.S. right now. I think that many times the social media, our culture, news media, it's almost like if you care about ratings, you want to have some kind of division so that your ratings will spike and go up and get more people talking. But we've become a fractured nation, as our friend Lexi said in a previous podcast. And so it's going to happen if we start talking about anything. I think about the different ways we can be divided. We can be divided by politics, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. We can be divided by race. We can be divided by culture. We can be divided by social and economics. We can be divided by religion. We can be divided by gender or gender associations, and I mean, just go on and on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's millions of them. So we either have to sort of become a recluse and really protect what we think, feel, and believe, which makes us a shell of ourselves, or we have to be willing to be able to repair. Because if we get out there and start talking about some of these things, then we're going to actually step in it from time to time.
Mm-hmm. And Gary, you know, some people have chosen to be the recluse, the recluse. They just said, you know, I'm going to let you guys have those conversations, right, and I want to stay out of it because I don't want to. They just don't
anymore.
Want
you wouldn't have much to talk about,
right? And as a matter of fact, we believe that you're going to have to hide more and more as time goes on.
Yes.
I mean, it's just really something else.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of a formula that you and I have discussed about how to go about I mean, there's some preliminary steps that you have to have made up in your mind to make sure that this doesn't happen to you as you have these courageous conversations. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that it's inevitable. And when we're just, even the title of our podcast, Courageous Conversations, if you start having them, you're going to have to clarify what you mean. And when you're doing that, you're going to find out someone disagrees with you. So let's start with, I think, the position number one, which I would say humility, that you don't know what you don't know. And there's no reason to be ashamed of what you don't know. You just want to become a curious learner. And that means you lead with listening. Now, I'll tell you an illustration about a friend of mine. So a friend of mine decided to go on social media and talk about how we should all love one another, which sounds real noble.
Right.
But, I mean, my advice for social media would be just danger, Will Robinson. Stay away. I don't know if there's anything good that can happen.
Sure.
But here we are out in the social media platform with Courageous Conversations. But anyway, so I read like, he only maybe had one comment when I read what he wrote, and I thought he did a good job, as good as anybody could do. I think he was speaking specifically about immigration and ICE and all these, and he was basically pleading for people to love each other across, culture, race, etc. And he did fine. And there was like one comment, and I thought, oh boy. Let's see what happens here. No, I don't. I rarely ever look at Facebook, but I care about him. His name is Ryan. Care about Ryan, so I'm going to follow this story a little bit. So, like within hours, there's like 5 posts, from other people saying what they think, and then like the next day there's 25, and then he was never aiming to be a social media star.
Yeah, right.
But they went from A to Z, everything from people, they picked apart everything you could possibly pick apart. And then the people who were answering started arguing with each other. And it just became this really big thing. And of course, there's people hating on Trump, there's people hating on Republicans, there's people hating on Democrats, there's people hating on ICE. And like, it's so, the volatile and, the words are so sharp. And I just thought, okay, well, that's not the platform for it. I mean, you and I would advocate have a face-to-face relationship, and share your heart with people you care about, and then be a good listener. And so he led with a statement, and people crucified him. Yeah. So I think if you want to have a conversation about those kinds of things, I wouldn't say don't have it. I would just say enter in with a lot of humility and do it face-to-face. It's better if you don't do it over the phone. If at least FaceTime or Zoom, where you can see the face of the person, and then and give it time. Like, be a good listener and say, "Tell me more. Like, I want to understand. Help me with this." And an illustration from my own life is one time I was talking about. I don't remember how the subject came up, but I was saying to the person, I get concerned because inequities go kind of across the board in some ways. Like, it could be Hispanic, or it might be Asian, or it might be Black, or it might be something else. And the Black person I was talking to said, "Well, do you know what's different about Blacks than anybody else?" And I said, "No, I don't. Tell me what you mean." And he goes, "Nobody else has been enslaved for hundreds of years in America." And I thought, oh, well, that's true. But I hadn't thought of that. So he wasn't wanting me to say we should have equity across the board, which we should. And I don't think he would be against that. He's just saying, don't put a Black person in the same place as you put a Hispanic person, or you put an Asian or somebody else, because we have all of this history between Blacks and whites that needs to be sorted out a bit better. And so my response to him was, "Hey, brother, I've not thought about it that way. I'm not unaware of our past. I just didn't realize that was demeaning to you, or that you felt like I shouldn't talk about it in that way. Thank you for bringing that to my attention." And I think that's probably the best we can do when we're in a place of repair. Just humble, like, I hadn't thought about that. I didn't know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
help me with these things. I am white, and I was raised in a white neighborhood with white parents and white friends, and I'm trying really hard to be more cosmopolitan. But we live in a world where we all have different heritages and different upbringings, and words mean different things, and phrases mean different things. And so I just think we don't want to be rigid or strict or uncompromising in the way we speak about things. We want to be a learner.
You know, Gary, you mentioned a lot of good things in this last segment that you just talked about. And you talked about the relationship and the humility and the listening. So that humility and listening are so important. But we also talk about commitment to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
but the one thing that I have found, and this is so key, is that I don't think you want to lead with trying to find the truth first, because that's how you get into these arguments. Because first
Your
of
truth
all,
might be different
that's
than my
exactly
truth.
right. And then, depending on if you could be a CNN person and I'm a Fox person, and so what I'm listening to is different than what you. And so
Yes.
we're both arguing. Well, these are the facts, and these
Right.
days, getting to the facts is harder and harder and harder.
It is.
But if you lead with, hey, I want to talk to you about so-and-so or whatever, or we had this conversation about so-and-so, and I think it kind of messed us up.
Yeah.
Why don't you, I just want to listen to you and you can explain. So if you lead with that humility and that listening and then bring the facts in,
Right.
I think that you have a better chance of understanding one another, and if there's some repairing that needs to be done.
And you may have to do some fact checking.
And you might, and doing that.
There are ways to do that.
Yeah, there are. I mean, I think about, and like I said, I don't want to dissect it in this segment, but when the whole Charlie Kirk thing came out, man, everybody had a truth. Everybody said, this is what he said. This is what he meant.
Mm-hmm.
And other people were like, no, this is what he said. This is what he meant.
Right.
And so, and based on what they thought was the truth, people dug in and they were,
did.
man, I saw some videos that I shouldn't have ought to had to see.
Wow. I remember being in a Zoom conversation with a friend who was really going off about how upset they were about some of the things he had said.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking to myself, did he say that? And I'm actually on my computer. I'm going to AI,
Right.
and I'm typing in what she was saying, and I'm just like, did Charlie Kirk say this?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it popped up like 3 or 4 times. Here. And I go, well, okay, I stand corrected.
There you go. Yeah.
And even then, it's what happened and what did he mean by it. But still, I mean,
You could see why somebody would have been
could.
been out of shape.
And a really important thing might be, like, even if you said this is true and in your mind you completely believe it, I want to know, why do you believe that's true?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I want to know more about you because you're my friend. I care about you. And so if something's important to you, it's important to me. And I want to try to understand, how did you get to the place you came to? And that's not critical. I'm not doing it to have the next line in the argument. I'm actually doing it because I care. I want to know. I want to learn. I want to serve you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that all goes back to humility. But truth is an important part of it from the standpoint of the opposite of that is to kind of hide or fudge on what we actually believe.
Right.
And then we have a sort of a false relationship. And so I would say to my wife, "No, tell me what you really think. You might be sitting on something you don't want to say.
That's right.
Because you're afraid it's going to hurt me. No, I would rather you say it and let's talk about it, because if you believe it or you think it, it's already there. So
Right.
let's try to go there and see if we can hear each other out and get to a place of understanding."
Yeah, and that is such a good observation. And I will admit that there are a couple of relationships that I have that are no longer good because it compounds itself when you keep sweeping things under the rug and sweeping them under the rug and sweeping them on, and then pretty soon you're just, whoa, how are you? And
Yeah, I think assumptions to me are like one of my biggest fears. Because I think we all make assumptions, and so I know I make them.
Yeah.
But but I want to try to challenge assumptions to be sure if it's actually true
Mm-hmm.
or if that's actually what you said or mean. And so I may come back you know me now. I'm not trying to be a combative person, but I probably ask more questions than anybody else I know because
Right.
I'm always asking questions like, okay, I heard you say this, but what's behind that? What does it
Right.
mean? What are you thinking? And I might even follow it up and say, does that mean this? Or you said this, but what's unsaid? Is there more behind that? And like, I'll ask those questions really in more of a neutral way of facilitating conversations or sharing knowledge. I'm not trying to poke holes in things, but I'm just asking so I don't assume. Because if I assume something and then I'm actually kind of afraid to talk to you about it, I'm probably going to distance myself from you. So I don't want to run into you and have another problem.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if we've actually worked on things together and we've made our way through the mud puddles of life, then I'm not afraid because I feel like even if I make a mistake, we'll figure it out.
And you know, Gary, I've watched you actually do that several times, and I wanna let people know it's a skill, and you get better at it the more you do it. And so you learn to phrase questions and to draw people in or draw people out, and you can do it skillfully in such a way to where it's genuine. And people feel respected. They feel like that they have the space to really feel like what they're saying, to voice what they really want and what they haven't said. And so you actually gain a skill when you constantly practice doing that.
Well, thank you. I think any of us can. It's a learned skill.
Yeah, it is.
And, you get that skill by being in a lot of difficult situations.
That's right.
I was talking with a guy who actually confronted me about something that I had said and said it in a way that was painful to him and didn't mean for it to be. But it happened in a situation that was kind of public and other people saw it or heard it and truly didn't mean it to be the way that it wasn't. He interpreted it, and maybe others did too. I'm not trying to self-defend. But anyway, it was awkward. So thank God, he came to me and talked to me about that. And we had a long discussion. It turned into almost an hour-long discussion. And he said something to me I'll never forget. He had done some study on attachment theory. And attachment theory is like what keeps people together and will create bonds that will last a lifetime. And he said that in attachment theory, one of the main things that's important to the two people who are involved, or sometimes it's a family unit, is the ability that if there's a rupture, there's a repair. And he said that when you have proven to each other in a family or a relationship that when there's a rupture, there can be a repair. When there's a rupture, there can be a repair. At some point in time, well, at the beginning, you're afraid because you don't know what's going to happen when you have rupture. But over time, if you rupture and repair repeatedly, then there's an elasticity to your relationship that gives you more confidence because you feel like I can be fully known and still be fully loved. Like I can trust my brother, I can trust my wife, whoever so the person is, because we've learned how to rupture and repair. And so I kind of have that as a framework in my mind when I'm in these conversations. At least from my perspective, I'm aiming for that. I want something that's going to be long lasting. But sometimes a person might be a little afraid or put off by the questions, and they feel like they're on an inquisition, and it's not that. It's this desire for attachment long term.
Yeah, and that brings up another phenomena that everybody has and that everybody has to face. And so I want the people who are viewing us to imagine that there's a thin veil or piece of plastic that's right here.
All right.
And so this thin veil and piece of plastic, can you see me? I'm over here.
I see it.
But everybody has that, and it's not that they are pretending or anything, but that's just, if you are not a crazy person and you go around and telling everybody your problems as soon as you meet them, this is just the way I present myself.
Yeah.
But behind that are things that you've lived, things that you've been through, things that were hurtful, things that you don't want to face again. And sometimes when you're talking to this person on the other side of this piece of plastic,
Right.
you may say something that, and I don't want to use the word trigger, but it
is.
reactivates it reactivates that pain point,
Right.
or it reminds them
Yep.
of something. And it could even be a song.
Right.
I will never and you have to realize that some of the reaction that you get sometimes is not because you did something wrong.
Right.
It's just that you pushed a button, you activated a memory,
You used a word.
you used a word. I will never forget. I was in a work situation, and we all piled in the van to go to lunch, and we turned on the radio, and a song came on. We were all jamming to the song, and one lady is in the back, and she's getting angry. I'm looking because I'm driving. I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and I see a detachment. Then I see anger, and then I see tears.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a song that had reminded her of a horrible relationship that
Yeah.
she'd been in. And so somebody was like, well, what's wrong with you? Well, she snapped right back and really gave it to him. And it wasn't until later I was like, I want to ask the same question, but I'm asking out of concern.
Right.
Are you okay? Obviously, it had something to do with something that somebody said or something that happened.
Yeah.
And then I got the story. And it just is always a constant reminder of that we don't have to walk on pins and needles, but you have to be prepared when you're in a relationship or when you're talking to people, even if you don't have a relationship, that you might hit a button, you might hit a bump, you might say a word,
Right. Right.
and it'll.
One thing we haven't talked about yet, and maybe this is uniquely Christian. I know that some people watching maybe haven't chosen faith in Jesus, but I don't think even a listener like that would disagree with what I'm going to say. We have to choose to love unconditionally.
Yes.
Like if we attach conditions to our love or approval of a person, we're gonna ruin the ability to be able to overcome gaps and blockages. Like I feel like we're building bridges over, these crevices that could separate us. We're trying to knock down walls, and unconditional love will get us, to places we couldn't get to otherwise. Whether you're talking about gender or what gender you think you are, or whether you're talking about politics, or whether you're talking about food or music or culture or socioeconomics, there are going to be things that are tender points, and you may actually end up disagreeing about them at some point in time. But your ability to give value to that person as a human, your willingness to let them believe what they believe and still love them is critical. And I'll go back to the fact that I want to give that kind of unconditional love because that's the kind of way that Jesus and God loves us. God the Father has let us go our way, so to speak. Even Jesus dying for our sins and being raised from the dead as a salvation opportunity, he still doesn't control any of that. He chooses to love. And so I feel like, especially in my role as a pastor, I need to choose to love unconditionally. And I want to respect you just as much if you're on a different side of any of those one things that I mentioned than I'm on. I still want to give you respect and esteem and value as a human being. And I think if we could keep those things in mind, then that's going to help us through the repair that we'll eventually and inevitably have to do.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how, all of us as human beings can tell when we are encountering somebody who truly is sincere about wanting to listen, wanting to apologize. A sincere apology.
Right.
And the thing is that if you can muster up the intestinal fortitude or the love that you're supposed to have, then you can actually portray that. And I guarantee you it'll bridge the gap, as you just mentioned, to where you'll be able to have a conversation about that thing. And, I'm pretty hard on Christians, and I'll tell you why. I'm hard on them because they have no excuse. If you follow your faith, which a lot of people accuse us of not doing that.
Right.
But if you follow your faith,
Or of being hypocrite.
that's right, and that's the word. But if you just do what your faith dictates that you do, then you can do this. You know, you should be the example.
Right.
Look it up in the dictionary. This is how you do it. But regardless of, like you mentioned, whether you are a person of faith or not, we want you to be able to extend that empathy, to be able to extend that listening, and listening. I heard a quote, and gosh, I wish I knew who it was, but it said, "When you listen to somebody, it's the closest thing to love that they'll ever experience, and sometimes they can't tell the difference.
Can't tell the difference.
Yeah, and so, you know, I want people to feel love when they hear me actively listening to them and their point of view.
And the other thing is, I'm not your judge
At all.
So
Can't do it.
my role is to spread the love of God. I'm not your judge. Like, you know, you will one day. The Bible says all of us one day will give
Give an account.
Give an account to God. He's the only true judge. He's the only one who has righteousness, and is perfect. I'm not. Like I'm just one sinner telling another sinner where to find salvation, or as one person said, one beggar telling another person where to find bread. Like, I have no reason or ability to judge you. Whatever you've done, I've probably done as much, or worse. And so I don't have judgment for you. I have compassion for you.
I got that. I actually got that saying from the quote unquote world. You'll hear, musicians and actors. Only God can judge me. So
Right.
So
I was in a conversation with a person about a week ago, who was telling me about some things that they believe related to like the evolution of the world and a variety. They kind of had several things on their list, and they knew that I wasn't going to see things the way that they did. And they were leading with Christians don't listen, and they always think they're right, and they're bigoted in their views, and they kind of had 3 or 4 things they named off there. And my answer was, try me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can't speak for them. I don't know what your life experience is. Try me. Mm-hmm. I think I can show you something different. And they didn't know what to say to that.
Okay.
They got really quiet.
Well, I mean, that if you have to take the taste test and blindfold it and stuff, you might lose.
Right.
And I'll kind of end my stories with this one. This is a brief one. But if there's any one subject I love to get into it with people, is the the whole creation, evolution debate and stuff like that. I mean, I've studied that more than anything, and I know all the science behind it, and and you'd be surprised to know what my position is. But the thing is that I was always went into those conversations loaded for bear. Like, I'm loaded. I've heard all of it, and I can show you this text and that text, and this scientific study and that one, and I always was just like, let's get it on.
Yeah.
And that was completely wrong. And when I look back on it, I never did convince anybody of my position ever. I mean, I felt like I walked away, that I won a couple of those rounds or whatever. But do you want to win the person, or do you want to win the argument?
Absolutely.
And so I completely changed my approach. Let me hear what you think, and let's talk about it. And sometimes in that one session, I just listened. I didn't even offer a rebuttal, and things have gone way better with having those kinds of conversations. And so just if you want to learn from, this is the lump that I took to learn that lesson, you don't have to learn the hard way.
I think that repair is so much about what God is about.
Mm-hmm.
And so we as his people need to be about repair. Probably my favorite story, and I'll let this be my last line, is the story of the woman caught in adultery.
Oh boy, yeah, that's a good one.
And so Jesus, in that time, he becomes like the protector of a person who's obviously committed a sin that was, found out in a very public way. If anybody had the right to condemn her, or to judge her, it would have been him. Instead, when he asks the question, which one of you has, has not committed a sin can cast the first stone, then the Bible says he got on his hands and knees and was drawing in the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And one by one, all the people were leaving. Drawing in the dirt was an interesting thing to do for a lot of reasons. I won't go there because there's some other pretty cool stuff, but it might take a while to explain. What it did do was it did put them probably on an eye-to-eye level. Mm. So if she's kneeling or she's sitting on the ground, he's come down to her level at that point. And then he says to her, he asked a question. Like he had knowledge, but he didn't start with this knowledge. He asked a question like, where are your accusers?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And he's eye to eye with her. So his compassion is already evident, and he's not being judging. And she says, they've all gone. And he says, well, then I don't condemn you either, but go your way and sin no more. So in other words, she knew the law, knew the right thing to do. And so he didn't feel the need to pound her on it or even reinforce it, except to say, you go do, do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that inherently, I truly believe people know what's right inside at the deepest level. And when I'm believing that God can communicate to that person what he wants to do or what their next step is, and I don't have to be God, I don't have to stand in his way, I don't have to say it for him, I don't have to stand above you, I can stand with you. If that's the posture that I can take towards someone else, then I give them the very best chance to rise up and do what they can do because they want to do it, mm-hmm. not because I made them do it. Mm-hmm. And when I'm thinking of repair, that's the vision in my mind. I want the person to know their love, not judge. I want the person to rise up and do what they know they can do. And I want them to feel like they have my support in the process. If we can accomplish those things, I think we can repair.
That's a great story. As a matter of fact, it's probably one of the best stories I've heard about repairing mm-hmm. and just helping somebody to move forward. Mm-hmm. And
raise the want to.
There you go.
Inside of them.
And you know what? You can do it because a lot of us are parents. And when our kids make what they think are huge mistakes, like I'll never forget, I can remember bringing the family car back at midnight because I got lost going somewhere I didn't have any business. I can remember tearing up my report card because I didn't want my parents to see my bad grade. I can think of a lot of things that I did where I was just like, I just better leave home because it's over, And as a parent, are they in trouble? Yes. Are there consequences? Yes. Are you done with them? I mean, do you go, that's it. You're out of the family. Get out. And as a matter of fact, what we see in most cases, the family is long-suffering, to the point of it's hurting the person. Yeah. And so we can adopt that. I know that family's different than anything else, but my point is that you have it within mm-hmm. you to help repair a relationship.
Yeah.
So.
One of my favorite questions for a child is, so what do you think we should do about this?
Oh, I hated that question. You were one of those parents. I hated that question so much I never asked my kids because I was just like, I'm never going to choose right, Dad. Please just do it to me, whatever.
Get it over with.
Just get it over with. So yeah, that's good. Well, we've enjoyed having you along with us on this conversation, and we hope that you've seen or heard something that made sense and that will help you maybe go back and work with somebody where one of these courageous conversations that we've urged you to have has resulted in a breach.
Might be a husband and wife.
Yeah. Yeah. You got a lot
However
of...
God convicts you.
But fix it. Yeah, fix
Right.
it. So thanks for, again, tuning in. You can get us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, our website. Ask people to come and watch this wonderful podcast and subscribe. You know, there's buttons that you can push and hit. I don't know where all of them are. Gary knows what they even look like. But yeah, he can tell you. But at any rate, yes, just come and be a part of this audience. And we love having you along. And thank you again for joining us in Courageous Conversations. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Courageous Conversations.
We hope you heard something that encourages you to start these conversations in your own life.
Because when we talk, listen, and learn together, we move closer to uniting people, uniting neighborhoods, and uniting KC.
And don't forget, you can find more stories, events, and resources at unitekc.org.
So until next time, go love your neighbors at all costs.